Hello everyone, my name is Mr. Romero. Welcome back to another video. I'm the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade instructor at 3rd Street Community Center. Today is Monday. Good morning, good evening, whatever time you're watching this at. Today I'm just bringing you a video on reading comprehension, some tips and strategies for you parents that you guys can use with your child to help them improve their comprehension while reading. And yeah, let's get started with this video. Let me make myself a little bit small right here. All right, now that I made myself tiny and I should be up in this corner, wherever the screen is, right here. Okay, so welcome. If you're new to this channel, I do daily videos on reading comprehension. And today we're going to be talking about that precisely on tips and strategies. So let's get started. First off, what is reading comprehension? It's plans or steps that good readers use to understand what they are reading. So it's not just about reading a book, but about understanding it, right? Taking those plans or steps. And let's see what those are. Retelling. Can your child retell what they just read? What happened in the story/book? What was the problem solution? What did you learn from the nonfiction text? Right? So your child should be able to tell you after they're done reading what they just read. Okay? And for the students that are watching this, make sure you're able to tell the story of what you just read, right? Is now for the parents, ask your children questions. Ask your child questions. As your child is reading to you, just ask about what happened to the character. What did the character do what she did? What did you like about the story/book? Who was your favorite character and why? What was your favorite thing that you learned and why? Nonfiction text, right? So these are questions you want to ask while your child is reading. If something just happened, for example, a bad guy broke a window, you can ask the question to your child like, why did the bad guy break the window, right? What was his motive? That gets your child thinking, oh, okay, well, he broke it because he's mad at the owner, right? And so it keeps you engaged while reading. This is for the students. Now, if you have a passage and questions that you need to read and answer, this is what you want to do. There's a great tip right here. You want to read the questions first and then read the story/book on what you're reading. It allows you to stay alert for what you're looking for. It keeps you engaged. So by reading the questions, you know while you're reading, if it comes up, if the answer comes up while you're reading, you can stop and go back to the question and then look at the answers and see if that is the answer or not. So it keeps you engaged while you read. Okay? And so for today's story, we are going to read about chocolate. Hope you guys all like chocolate because my favorite chocolate is Ferrero Rocher. I love Ferrero Rocher. So if you guys want to get me some, who knows? Nah, I'm just kidding. I have some actually in my fridge, so we are set on that. All right, let's go back to this. Where does chocolate come from? I'll be reading this with you guys. If you want to go and reread it, rewatch it again, you can, so that you go over it multiple times. It's up to you, but I'll be reading this to you guys, okay? But before that, I start reading, we have questions along with this passage. So what was one of our tips, right? For tips as we read, when that happens, we want to read the questions first, so that we stay alert of what we need to look for, right? So let's read the questions. So it says, where do cacao trees grow? Asia and the United States, Central and South America, Africa and Asia, South America and Mexico, Europe and Africa. Where does chocolate come from? Pinto beans, butter beans, lima beans, cocoa beans. How are these beans dried? By boiling in a pan, by roasting in a dryer, by baking in the sun, by baking in an oven. What is unsweetened chocolate? It is another name for milk chocolate. It is another name for cocoa. It is another name for bitter chocolate. It is another name for a candy bar. A milk chocolate candy bar needs to contain sugar and cocoa butter, sugar and milk, sugar, vanilla, and cocoa butter, sugar, vanilla, cocoa butter, and milk. How is the chocolate that candy bar makers buy sold to them? As processed milk chocolate, as cocoa powder, as cocoa butter, as cocoa beans. Right? So now that you finish reading these questions, now you're kind of alert. It may not be all the questions that you memorize, but at least some, right? And now you, as you read the story, you stay alert, right? So where do cacao trees grow? As you're reading and you see where it has grown, you can go back to your questions and circle that answer, right? So now let's just go back and read the story, okay? Where does chocolate come from? Chocolate that we eat starts with cacao trees, also called cocoa trees. Cacao trees grow in a warm climate like Central and South America, Africa, or parts of Asia. This tree produces a seed pod, and cocoa beans are the seeds inside the pod. Cocoa beans eventually become chocolate. As a chocolate factory, the beans are cleaned and then they are roasted for up to 2 hours in a large rotating drums. The cocoa beans tremble in these drums like clothes in a clothes dryer. As they dry, the beans turn to a rich brown color. After roasting the shell of the cocoa bean, it is removed and the inside of the cocoa beans are then grounded by heavy steel plates. This grinding process forms a chocolate liquid. When chocolate liquid is molded and cooled, the product is called unsweetened or bitter chocolate. Sometimes the chocolate liquid is made into dry cocoa powder. When cocoa is made oil from the cocoa beans, it is pressed out and is known as cocoa butter. Add sugar, cocoa butter, and vanilla flavoring to unsweetened chocolate, and you have a chocolate candy. If you also add milk, the product is milk chocolate. Next, the milk chocolate mixture goes through heating and cooling cycles before being molded. Finally, it is molded into milk chocolate candy bars or is made into 10-pound blocks of chocolate that are sold to other candy bar manufacturers. The end. Now, this worksheet was retrieved from easyteacherworksheets.com. Anyone can visit it. It's totally free. Okay, so now that we just read this passage, now we're gonna go to our questions. All right. Now that we are here, whenever you have your story and your questions, have them side to side. Also, if you have, get your pencil or your highlighter and highlight, right? Highlight where you can, where the passage where you find the answer to the question. Okay, so the first question is, where do cacao trees grow? Let's see, I remember seeing this in the first paragraph, so I'm gonna read. So it's a matter of rereading, right? So that we see where the answer is. It says, chocolate that we eat starts with cacao trees, also called cocoa trees. Cacao trees grow in warm climate, like Central and South America, Africa, or parts of Asia. Wait a minute, that's where the question was. Where do cacao trees grow? There it is. Cacao trees grow in warm climate like Central and South America, Africa, or parts of Asia. Now let's go where that's at. Asia and the United States? No, I don't remember seeing that. Central and South America, Africa and Asia? This is a possibility. But now, we want to keep reading just in case we find a better answer. South America, Mexico? No, I don't remember seeing that. Europe and Africa? Nope. So now, the answer is going to be B. Now, in your passage, what you want to do is highlight it. So highlight where you found it, right? So there's the answer to that. Okay, so now let's read question number 2. Where does chocolate come from? Okay, so now let's just keep reading. As we begin to read the passage, we will begin to see where this is at. This tree produces a seed pod, and cocoa beans are the seeds inside the pod. Cocoa beans eventually become chocolate. So where does chocolate come from, guys? I think I just found the answer. Cocoa beans eventually become chocolate. Okay, is it from pinto beans, butter beans, lima beans, or cocoa beans? And what does that passage say? Cocoa beans eventually become chocolate, right? So that is going to be letter D. Awesome. Now, how are these beans dried? Okay, so now you may know where it's at in the passage, but if you don't know, just keep reading. Doesn't hurt to keep reading, right? So it says, how are these beans dried? At the chocolate factory, the beans are cleaned and then they are roasted for up to 2 hours in large rotating drums. Okay, so the beans are rotated in drums. The cocoa beans tumble in these drums like clothes in a clothes dryer. Think that might be the answer, right? I think that might be the answer. Let's read. Let's see the answer options. By boiling in a pan, by roasting in a dryer, by baking in the sun, by baking in an oven. This might be B, by roasting in a dryer. Let's see why. It says the cocoa beans tumble in these drums like clothes in a clothes dryer. Right? So it's making a comparison right here. So it's making comparison when you put the clothes in your dryer, what's it doing? It's drying, right? It's drying your clothes. That's what happens with these beans when they're put in these drums. When they're rotating, they are drying. So the answer is by roasting in a dryer, right? And then we're going to go highlight it, and then we're going to highlight this. Yeah. Okay. Take that off. What is, next question, 4. What is unsweetened chocolate? It is another name for milk chocolate. It is another name for cocoa. It is another name for bitter chocolate. It is another name for a candy bar. So now let's go back in there and continue reading. As they dry, the beans turn to a rich brown color. After roasting, the shell of the cocoa beans is removed and the inside of the cocoa beans are then grounded by heavy steel plates. This grinding process forms a chocolate liquid. When chocolate liquid is molded and cooled, the product is called unsweetened or bitter chocolate. Whoa, I remember seeing bitter chocolate. So let's go back to the question. What is unsweetened chocolate? Is it another name for milk chocolate? Is it another name for cocoa? Is it another name for bitter chocolate? I think this was the one that we just saw, right? So let's go back. When chocolate liquid is molded and cooled, the product is called unsweetened or bitter chocolate. So we're going to say unsweetened chocolate is another name for bitter chocolate. So we're going to say C. Oh, that's a way big circle. Sorry about that. All right, so now let's go back to the story and highlight it where we saw it. Bam, there we go. So now question 5. A milk chocolate candy bar needs to contain, so let's keep reading. Sometimes the chocolate liquid is made into dry cacao powder. When cacao is made, oil from the cacao bean is pressed out and is known as cocoa butter. Add sugar, cocoa butter, and vanilla flavoring to unsweetened chocolate, and you have a chocolate candy. If you also add milk, the product is called milk chocolate. So there, I think, is the answer. Let's go read the question again. A milk chocolate candy bar needs to contain sugar and cocoa butter, sugar and milk, sugar, vanilla, and cocoa butter, sugar, vanilla, cocoa butter, and milk. It should be D, because the answer is right here. Add sugar, cocoa butter, and vanilla flavoring to unsweetened chocolate, and you have a chocolate candy, right? But that means you have an unsweetened, a bitter chocolate candy bar. But if you add milk, the product is milk chocolate, right? Milk chocolate is sweet. So let's move on. Next and final question, number 6. How is the chocolate that candy bar makers buy sold to them? As processed milk chocolate, as cocoa powder, as cocoa butter, as cacao beans. As cocoa beans. All right, let's keep reading. Next, the milk chocolate mixture goes through heating and cooling cycles before being molded. Finally, it is molded into milk chocolate, candy bars, or it is made into 10-pound blocks of chocolate that are sold to other candy bar manufacturers. Here, the answer is not so straightforward. So that's where we come in and we think, right? We want to think. What is the closest answer to this passage right here? Because the answer is in this passage. We just got to think, what is it, right? As processed milk chocolate, as cocoa powder, as cocoa butter, as cocoa beans. I don't remember seeing any of this. Cocoa powder, cocoa butter, cocoa beans, right? But as processed milk chocolate, I remember seeing a process of milk chocolate, right? It says, next, the milk chocolate mixture goes through heating and cooling cycles before being molded. So the answer is right here. Why? Because this is as processed milk chocolate. What is a process, right? A process means you go through certain steps, right, in order to get the outcome. So if we're making something, like if you're making a peanut butter jelly sandwich, what do you do first? You get the bread, you open the bread, you get your tools that you need, like a knife, a butter knife, and then you get the peanut butter jar, you open it, get the knife, scoop the peanut butter, and put it on your bread, right? It's a process. So now that's what just happened here. Next, the milk chocolate mixture goes through heating and cooling cycles before being molded. Cycles just means that it's a continuation of the cooling process, right? It's just saying it's doing it over and over. So it's a process of milk chocolate. So there's the answer, A. So there you go now, guys. Now you just learned how to be engaged, how to be engaged while reading your passage, your story, whatever book you're reading. Keep it engaged so that you're aware of what you're being asked, right? Use the strategies. Use these strategies that we just used while reading so that it can help you find the answers a little bit more. Sometimes, yes, you do have to read through the passage again, like we just did, which is fine. You're allowed to go back. In this case, you're allowed to go back to the questions and to the passage, right? But there's going to be times where all you can do is just read the passage and your questions, but you can go back to your passage, right? That's during a test maybe. You can go back to your passage, right? So what you want to do first is read the questions first. If they give you the option, read the questions first. Read all the questions like we did, all the answers, and then as you go to your reading, just stay alert. Stay alert with all those questions, right? And then you'll be more engaged and you'll understand the readings that you would read, right? These are some of the tools that I would use when I didn't understand my reading, right? I was just like, I don't get this. What can I do so that I am able to understand what I'm reading, right? Because most of us read, and after we're done with the book, we just say, wait, what happened? So for you to know that you just understood it, make sure you're able to tell someone what you just read, okay? And just stay engaged while you're reading, and it'll help you understand the story a lot more, a lot better, okay? So thank you for watching this video. This might have been a little bit shorter video because it's reading comprehension, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I will see you guys also next Monday. Tomorrow should be Miss Ashley, so stay tuned as we watch more videos on STEM tomorrow. Okay? Have a great day. See you guys next Monday.